Thank you for joining us for our July LCT E-rate webinar. We have on the call today Cheryl Miller, Kennedy Nail, Jennifer Williams, and Patty Hollingsworth. Today, myself, Patty, Kennedy, and Cheryl will be talking on a few topics here. And let's go ahead and share that. So today we're going to be talking about the summary of LCT funding. Patty is going to be speaking on the E-rate timeline and preparing the funding year 2023 Form 470 because that's fast approaching. And then Kennedy Nail and Cheryl Miller are going to be presenting some reminders as we move towards August. So as a summary of LCT funding, not much has changed since last month. 87% of LCT Category 1 dollars are funded for 2022. There's still a couple of outstanding applications which have not been funded yet, and we'll touch on those later. 7.1 billion in million, my apologies, in Category 1 pre-discount funding to LCT libraries has been funded between 2018 and 2022. Additionally, the funding year 2022 average bandwidth among LCT libraries is just over 1 gigabit per second, which is phenomenal. If you are finding that your bandwidth is lower, you might want to start shooting for higher bandwidths in future applications. 8.4 million in Category 1 has been requested for LCT libraries since 2018. That's a lot of money. Average cost per megabit per second is $2.65. And this has decreased since 2021 by $1.13 per megabit per second. So that shows you how internet costs are getting cheaper, and you might be able to take advantage of a higher bandwidth at a lower cost. Average monthly cost for LCT libraries is $842.28. But with that, we're going to talk about some upcoming items with Patty. Go ahead, Patty.
Hi, thank you, Kyle. Now we'll go over on the next slide. We'll go over the E-rate timeline. At this time of year, we can be working on any of 3 funding years at the same time. This can be thought of as funding for services in the past, the present, and future year. So for the past, we'll look at funding year 2021. This is the year that ended June 30th of 2022. And so for that year, we'll be looking at invoicing USAC. The invoicing can either be service provider invoicing, which is SPI, or applicant invoicing, commonly called a BEAR. But for those with SPI discounts, you'll just want to review your vendor invoices and verify that your E-rate discounts are being applied to your bill. But for those who have paid your vendor invoices in full, now would be the time of year to file for your BEAR reimbursements. We've sent some emails to the libraries who will be filing a BEAR, and that include BEAR filing instructions. So just please let us know if you have any questions on that. Next on the diagram, for the present year, which would be funding year 2022, this is the funding year that started this month, July 1st. So at this time, you'll want to verify that your E-rate services have started and that you filed your Form 486 to certify SIPA compliance if you've received your FCGL. Also, just a reminder, if there are any of you who may have changed service providers this year, you'll want to confirm that the new service provider has began service, and just as importantly, make sure that your old service provider, their service has been turned off. Now, next on this timeline for the future time period, which would be funding year 2023. So currently, now and moving into the fall will be the time that we'll prepare for competitive bidding by filing the Form 470. This will be for services to start July 1st of 2023. So on this next slide, we'll talk more about funding year 2023. Some of our libraries will need to file a Form 470 this year, but not everyone. If you're a library who's currently in a multi-year contract, then you're not required to rebid the service, so you can ignore the 470 this year. But for others, here are some questions that you'll want to consider. Does your internet contract expire on or before June 30th of 2024? Or do you have a month-to-month internet service? If you answer yes to either of those questions, then your library will need to plan on filing a Form 470 this fall for competitive bidding. Another question to consider is if your library may need a Category 2 equipment for this upcoming year. So on the next slide, we'll cover more for funding year 2023. Here are some things to remember in preparing for funding year 2023. You'll want to review your library's information in Epic to make sure that all the information is accurate and correct before moving to filing the Form 470 this fall. Some of the things that you'll want to update and verify and update if needed is if you've added a new library branch or if any locations have moved and you need to update and change the address. You'll also want to verify the square footage and make any updates that are needed. Next, you'll want to determine your bandwidth needs for the upcoming year. That'll start July of 2023, and also determine if you may need any Category 2 equipment. Once you have determined your needs, you'll prepare a service specifications document or an RFP, which you'll attach to the Form 470 to open the competitive bidding. Then once the 470 closes, you'll evaluate your bids, then select a service provider, and then sign contracts. So on the next slide, we'll go over more on prepping for funding year 2023. You'll want to also review the eligible services list, and that is typically released around the summertime. It's released yearly. So we'll actually put a notice in our newsletter when that does come out, and we'll make sure to highlight any changes to be aware of. But most of our libraries file for just internet access, and some may file for a small Category 2 application. If there are any who need a large Category 2 project, we'd be happy to help with that. Just let us know and be aware that it's outside of our contract with LCT, but it would be a separate contract with the library. And Category 2, that would include any internal connections or managed internal broadband service or basic maintenance of internal connections. Also here on the slide, we've included a link to the ESL glossary, and that's a helpful place to look for these terms that can include more details and explain these terms to you. So I know this was a lot of information, and we'll be going over this more in detail next month as well, going over the 470 and how to determine your needs. So just know that we're here to support you if needed. And now I'll hand it over to Kennedy and Cheryl.
Thank you, Patty. So one of the reminders we have for you today is about filing your Form 486, like Patty mentioned. So this form notifies you if USACs that your services have started or will start on July 1. If you've received your FCDL, you're going to go ahead and be able to file this form in your Epic portal, and you should have emails from us with instructions on how to do that. This form does certify your compliance with the Children's Internet Protection Act, so you'll want to read through all of the certifications and make sure you choose the appropriate ones before you finish the form and certify it. If you were funded before July 1st, the deadline for this is October 29th, but we do suggest filing it as soon as you can, just to get it taken care of and make sure that you don't have anything outstanding. If you got funded after July 1st, received your FCDL after July 1st, the deadline is 120 days after you received your FCDL. Again, we suggest doing it as soon as you can after you've received that funding commitment decision letter. There are some cases in which services do not start on July 1st. If that is your situation, reach out to our team so that we can help you walk through how your Form 486 will look slightly different. And then this, I'm going to hand over to Cheryl.
Thanks, Kennedy. So for reimbursements, all libraries who did not use the SPI method and paid for services in full will need to submit a bearer. That is the billed entity applicant reimbursement. You will need to submit a bearer for funding year 2021 services, and that's from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The deadline to file a bearer for that funding year 2021, and that's for recurring services, for example, internet access, is October 28th of 2022. If you are submitting one, you'll need to file this as soon as you have paid all of the invoices for the funding year 2021 period. And we just, like we said, we recommend doing this as soon as you can. You can file for a one-time 120-day extension, but this must be done before the original deadline. And typically, although the extension is automatically granted when you file for it, it must be requested through the Epic portal. And you can always reach out to somebody if you need any kind of help or assistance with that. And now I'm going to hand it over to Kyle, which is going to go over a couple of things to conclude today's webinar.
Thank you, Cheryl, and also thank you, Patty and Kennedy, for those informative slides on the E-rate timeline, the funding year 2021 invoicing, the funding year 2022 Form 486, and the funding year 2023 470 that is upcoming. Just to add on to the invoicing items, if you are invoicing through the service provider invoice mode and not doing a bearer, you should still check your bills from funding year 2021, July 2021 through June 2022, just to make sure that you're being invoiced properly during that time with the SPI discount. And if you don't know and you have any questions, please reach out to us, as always, with our email, lct@eratecentral.com, or our LCT hotline, 516-801-7820. This is a email address and phone number that all of us, that you can reach any one of us through. As a reminder, our next call is going to be at the same time, 2 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, August 25th, 2022. We have some additional resources down here regarding SEPA as we finalize the last 486s. Does anyone have any questions before we close out the call and let you folks get back to the rest of your days? It looks like Marisol has a question. Hi, Marisol. What was your question?
Hi, Kyle. I guess I know in the past I have been helped with category 2. So now if we need help with category 2, we would need to request a quote, I guess, or
If you are seeking Category 2 services, you should email lct@eratecentral.com with the scope of the equipment and the purchase that you are trying to make. Based on that, we can help develop a pricing for those services from our end on that, because it does fall out of the scope, outside of the scope of our contract with the Texas State Libraries, which covers the Category 1 side of E-rate.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marisol. That's a great question. Are there any other questions? Well, if you don't have any questions now, again, don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions you run into. Again, thank you everyone for being on this call. Patty, Kendi, Cheryl, and Jennifer, of course. I really appreciate your time. Everyone have a great day, and we will catch you next month.